Okay, so we're going to be doing some expressions today using the order of operations, but we're going to be having exponents in them, and yeah, and eventually we'll throw some negatives in there too. So it might start getting pretty hard. Don't panic, just hang with me. And if you get it today, fabulous. And if you don't get it today, you've still got another year or two of 6th and 7th grade math to practice this before you really have to master it. So looking at our first one here, and if you need to write down PEMDAS, you can write down PEMDAS somewhere. So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So the order of what we're going to be doing here. So do we have any parentheses? No. Do we have any exponents? Yes, we do. That is what this is right here. That's called an exponent. Now remember, it means 3 to the second power, meaning 3 is multiplied by itself. So 3 happened 2 times. So 3 times 3. Okay, 3 squared. So 3 times 3 is 9. And then we would get 18. And when we divide it by that 9, we're going to get 2. So 2 would be our final answer on that one. So that was pretty easy. So next one, and if you feel you're up for the challenge, go ahead and write it down, solve it on your own, and then unpause it and see how you did. Okay, so looking at this one here, do I have any parentheses? Yes, I do. I have 2 of them. So I would do the one on the left and then the one on the right. Okay, so those are done. My next step would be exponents. Do I have an exponent? Yes, I do. It's right there. So that's going to be my third step. You'll notice that exponent is on the outside of the parentheses, meaning when I get the answer for what goes inside the parentheses, the exponent will go on that answer. So that is not 1 squared. It's whatever 5 plus 1 is, that is going to be squared. So then our last step, our fourth step here, would be that multiplication. So step 1 is 5 plus 1 is 6. Okay, and like I said, that exponent goes on that answer. So go ahead and put that there. Then second step is 7 minus 4 is 3. Now I'm going to go ahead and drop down the stuff I haven't used. Usually when you're simplifying, you should rewrite it after each step, or at least after a couple steps, or else you might get really confused by the end. So we're going to go ahead and drop down that times sign because it goes in between the exponent and the 3. So our next step, step 3, would be 6 squared. So 6 squared means 6 times 6. And 6 times 6 is 36. So then my last step is to multiply that 36 times the 3. And you probably should not try doing that in your head. I know some of you are capable, but you should really just do the work on your paper. So 3 times 6 is 18, carry the 1. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. So the solution to this problem would be 108. So moving on to the next one. So if you want to copy it down, solve it, and then see how you did. So I'm going to get progressively harder and harder and harder to see if you can keep hanging with me. So do we have any parentheses? Yes, we do. In fact, we have a parentheses and a bracket. Now I've taught my students when you see a bracket, I want you to attach the ends of the bracket so you know everything inside that bracket must be done first. So a bracket is just basically a square parentheses that usually goes on the outside of another parentheses. So looking inside the bracket, we have 2 choices. We have the choice of addition or this division, but that division is in a parentheses. So since it's in a parentheses, it gets precedence and it will be done first. So second, we would be adding the 9. So we've got 2 steps. Now my last step, this little bitty 2 on the outside, that's my exponent. So that's going to be my third step. Now that exponent is on the outside of the bracket, meaning I have to solve for everything in the bracket before I use my exponent. So my first step was 12 divided by 3, and that gives me 4. Now I can drop down everything I have not used yet. I haven't used the 9. I have not used the plus. Now the parentheses is gone because when I solved what was inside it, I didn't need it anymore. So it's gone. Then I could put my bracket again, and then the square goes on the bracket. So next, step 2, I need to do the 9 plus the answer to step 1. So 9 plus 4 is 13. Now I don't need the bracket anymore because I solved inside the bracket. Now that 2 is going to go on the outside, that exponent of 2. So 13 is being squared or raised to the second power. So my last step is I need to do 13 times 13. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. Put a 0 and move over. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. And I'm going to add this up and I get 9, 6, 1. So the answer to this problem is 169. So we're going to try just one last problem here and see how you do. So this one is the exponent doozy here. So do I have parentheses? Yes, I do. And inside the parentheses, I actually have 3 different things to do. I have 3 choices. I have the choice of an exponent, adding, or another exponent. So exponents come first in the order of operation before addition. So I would do the exponent on the left, then the exponent on the right, because whenever you have 2 of the same choice or same level, you're going to do left to right, and then I'm going to add those answers. Now you'll see there's another exponent on the outside there. So when I am done solving the inside, I will be squaring or raising to the second power that answer. So that's going to be my 4th step. And then finally, my 5th step is going to be to subtract that 4. So we're going to start doing all of these steps here. So 2 to the 3rd power means 2 is going to be written down 3 times with a times sign in between. So it's 2 times 2 times 2. So what's 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So I'd put an 8 right there and leave my parentheses. Now 3 squared means I'm going to put down the 3 2 times, and 3 times 3 is 9. Now I'm leaving my parentheses, I'm leaving my plus sign, I'm leaving the squared, I'm leaving the minus 4. Okay, really when you simplify, you should do one step at a time and rewrite. So looking so far, I've done step 1, I've done step 2. So step 3, I need to add the first 2 steps. So I get 17. Now once I've solved everything inside, I don't need the parentheses anymore. I can remove it. Now that square, that 2, has to go on the 17. So now I've got 17 squared minus 4. Well, 17 squared means 17 gets written down 2 times, and it's going to multiply by itself. So 7 times 7, we've got 49. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. Now, before I move over to my next place, I need to put a 0, and 1 times 7 is 7, and 1 times 1 is 1. So this is 9, 8, 2. So 289. Now we do have one last step. We've got to subtract the 4, and then we will be done. Okay, so minus 4, and we end up with 5, 8, 2. Now, if you were able to get that answer all by yourself, I am super impressed. And if you didn't, it's okay. So we'll be giving you some more practice problems today to practice. Today's assignment will not be for a grade. It'll just be for practice to see how well you've done.